Well, thank you everyone for coming.
Welcome.
Honestly, I think it's like, it always just amazes us that we know that we live in an inconvenient bit of the country. So I think it always just amazes us to have so many incredible kind of crafters turn up, doesn't it?
In the pouring rain, no less.
I know. So thank you all so much. My name is Sonja.
And I'm Helena.
And we are the directors of Arbon Textiles. So yeah, the company as a whole is 26 years old, and we've been doing it for 3 years. So we know what we're doing now. Hopefully, in theory.
We have actually been here considerably longer.
Yes, we've worked here for a very long time before taking it over, obviously. And actually, one of the main things that we both have done since we started is design yarn. But
we thought we'd take a break this year and let someone else do it.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. When you've got like, I don't know, 40 emails in your inbox and you're feeling a bit tired, this job can sometimes seem like a pain in the bum, like any job, but you know, it's the designing of the yarn is really the thing that makes it all worthwhile, isn't it? Making the new ranges, playing with the colours. So yeah, we thought we'd share the love this year and invite you all to help us. It's been such a nice process, so that's what the talk's about. But it's been really lovely today actually, because it seems like so many of you have like looked at the Mineralogy, and quite a lot of you, I think, hands up if you voted in something. Hey,
Most people.
Amazing. Perfect. Well, we all made it together.
Yeah, you already know all about it then, so we don't need to see this.
Yes. But we've got some samples that we'll pass around as well. Has everyone been on a mill tour before, or is everyone, hands up if you're going on a mill tour or you've been on a mill tour? Lovely, perfect. So yeah, it's another thing that like while you go round, you'll be able to see the process as well. So
if you're going on a mill tour this weekend, some of this yarn is on the machines as well.
Yeah, so you'll be able to see it being spun. So there it is, and that's a little bit of the yarn and the tops.
Out and about on Dartmoor.
And then here's the full range. And the tops are always really nice because it means you can really see what colours go into, because when they're so heathered, sometimes it can be quite hard to see what those components are. So even if you don't spin, it can be quite useful looking at the tops just to get a sense, especially if you're trying to buy things online. I think it can help. So we'll pass all of that round in a little bit.
Also, if anyone wants to see how the tops, what that looks like when you spin that, the spinners out there demonstrating are actually using the Mineralogy, so you can see the different way the colours go into it. So you can see what it looks like when we spun it, but also what it looks like if you're spinning it yourself.
Any spinners out there? Yeah,
Yep.
That's the magic of hand spinning, isn't it? Is you can really play with the colours even more. That's definitely one of the best bits of crafting. So this is just our previous open weekend specials. So last year we had 3 special Yarnadelic colours, which were designed by a couple designers, which was very exciting. And that we've always done. We do collaborations with other people who don't work at the mill quite often and invite them to design a specific colour. But we've never done a collaboration with like this. And that is actually also something that we've done on Instagram in the past. I don't know if anyone's participated in those, but probably once a year we kind of invite some of our followers to help us design a special colour, but we've never invited people to help us design a whole range. So then the year before was down the allotment, which was like an experimentation with lots of different marls. It was very fun, but a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, there were like 50, 60 different colours to start with because they were marls, so you had to join them all together in different combinations to decide exactly which one you wanted.
You made a crazy Doctor Who scarf.
Still making the crazy Doctor Who scarf.
Well, it's only been going for 2 years,
I know,
so that's
yeah.
pretty quick in terms of whips.
Yeah, it's probably long enough to be a scarf already. It just hasn't got all the colours in it yet.
And then the year before that, we had our Brewed by the Mill folk. So,
Which was where all of the people at the mill worked in little teams for each yarn range. So like a couple of people did Devonia, a couple of people did Harvest Dews, and Appledore, and Yarnadelic.
Yeah.
So we had a little collection that sort of all worked together in the end. But
yeah. So we always like to do, because this is our like biggest weekend of the year, we always like to make something kind of special to make it feel a bit more festive when folks come and visit us.
we haven't decided what we're doing for next year yet.
No.
So if anyone has ideas, please feel free.
Raise your hand at the end and let us know, or email us. We're always looking for new suggestions. So the way we designed this, and it did take a little bit of thinking of like, oh, well, if everyone designs it, how is that actually practically going to work? So it was then a little exercise for us of like breaking down like what actually goes into designing a yarn and a tops range. How does that work? And when we do it ourselves, we do kind of come at it from different angles. So sometimes it's like, well, we know we want to use this fibre, or sometimes it's like, we actually have a really fun idea for what the theme would be, and then you're like working backwards from the theme. So,
and then for main range things, we're often looking for gaps in our main either colour palette or offering, like, you know, when we started doing sport weight for Yarnadelic, because we didn't have anything in that category. So it's like, oh, what are we missing that we could do? So yeah, sometimes, you know, for the specials as well, it's like, well, what don't we have that people might like?
Yeah. Or like, what have we not done for a while? Or actually quite a lot of the time with the specials as well, it is like, oh, well, what do customers tell us they want? So like, we really do listen if you tell us you want a specific colour, or like, because for the open weekend a couple years back, we made like dark knit by numbers, so added black rather than white, and that was based on like a couple of customer suggestions. So we do listen if you tell us what you like. Often you have very good ideas. So with the survey, for the first one, we thought, well, if we're just starting from scratch, actually the most important thing is the fibre blend and the colour palette. So we then created a couple different options, because obviously it can also be quite overwhelming designing a yarn from scratch. So we didn't want to just completely be like, you can have absolutely whatever.
I think we'd have ended up with about 20 different things in it. Wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, exactly. And we do also, because we're a mill, we make our own yarn, but we also make yarn for other people. So when we're making those commission yarns, often people can find it quite overwhelming when we're just like, you tell us what you want and we'll make it. So I think having some kind of parameters can really help. Just then you can play within the parameters, whereas if you have absolutely every option under the sun, it just can feel overwhelming sometimes, can't it? Mm-hmm. So all of this is, the top one's Devonia, and then knit by numbers, and then the Appledore fibre and the Corridel fibre. Those are the ones that we have dyed up, and the rest of our fibre is just naturals. So we knew that we wanted to we needed to have one of those as like the main thing, because otherwise it would be mostly undyed, which is probably not what people were after. And then the rest of them were just some of our naturals that have a different feel. So the Jacob is quite rustic, whereas the Romney is really lovely and lustrous. And then this Wartballs is very dark. So those were the options we gave you. And then in terms of the sheep here, on the top left, we've got Exmoor Blueface, which is our local. They're just in the fields around us. If you're driving, walking around, chances are that's what they are. Mm-hmm. And that is a cross of Blueface Leicester with a like sturdier hill sheep. So that's your standard kind of meat sheep around here, really. But they've got lovely fibre too. And then underneath, we've got some Hebrideans in the snow. and they're really nice, like dark fleeces. And then underneath that are those Exmoor horns. I can't quite.
I think they might be Devon close
They're
walls.
Devon close walls.
Oh no, maybe Devon close walls the other side.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
these
this
little
guy's
lads
Devon
are
close wall.
I think
Who
they're
knows what
Exmoor
the other
walls,
one is?
but it's quite a challenging angle.
Yes, I think so.
Then here we've got the swart balls, which are really easy to recognise because they are all black, except they look like Black Beauty. Or our cats.
Yes. Yes. Tuxedo sheep.
Exactly. They've got that white blaze and they've got little socks.
Yeah.
And they've actually got like a little white tip on their tails as well,
Yes.
which is so cute. And then underneath we've got Corridale. So Corridale was what was originally chosen then. But it was quite a close run thing between the Corridale and then also the knit by numbers base. So I think you folks were quite clear that you wanted something a bit softer for the majority of it,
Yep.
which is nice. And then it was about what we're going to blend in. And for those two options, people seem to pick really drapey things, which was nice. So I have got some samples that we'll pass around. So those two are Corridale. And then this one, which looks very similar, but if you touch the Corridale and the, that's Romney, so that's the other thing that went in. So if you touch the Romney and the Corridale at the same time, you'll be able to tell that one of them is kind of softer than the other. And then that's our grey Exmoor blue face.
Which is just it's the same as all the others, it's just they put all of the coloured fleeces from the local mule sheep in one thing and separate the white, because most people want white yarn. So
yeah, but it's lovely and soft, and it's quite drapey, that grey Exmoor blue face. The grey Exmoor blue face we found because if you've been to the mill, you will have noticed that there's a wallboard grading station just next door, and so every now and then we actually go down there, look at the fleeces, see what they've got. And we were like rummaging because they grade it into, is it over 200 different grades?
oh god, there's way more than that.
300?
Way.
They grade it a lot.
There's a lot of different grades, depending on which one you are. So here they have multiple different grades. We sent 2 lots round.
Yes, yeah, there's 2 lots round.
So depending on the different depots, so our one obviously has quite a lot of Devon sheep of varying things, so they will then grade that out into multiple different levels, so like right down to the this is dirty crappy stuff at the bottom up to this is very beautiful and you should pay more for it. So they will grade that out, but like we won't have very many like Shetland or anything, so all that sort of stuff might get lumped into one category of like fine. So the coloured stuff particularly, because there's not as many coloured sheep, anything that was coloured, doesn't matter which grade it was, it went into the one. So this particular batch we've got is actually quite a high grade one. So it's closer to the Blueface Leicester end than the sort of Exmoor Horn end. So it's very soft, this particular lot that we got, which was good.
Go on.
How do we identify them?
So the Corridale will be a bit whiter.
And softer. And the
softer.
other one is shinier.
And the Romney will be a bit shinier, and it's like a cream shade.
You've got the Romney on that side and the Corridale on the other side.
Yeah. So the Corridale will feel a bit sort of soapier. It's a lower micron count, so it gets a bit harder for your fingertips to like distinguish every single fibre. Whereas on the Romney, you can kind of feel all the fibres. So those were the base components you picked, were those 3 things. And at that point, we did a bit of testing, didn't we, Helena?
Yes.
And thought about what kind of proportions would work well.
And Laura, who is out wearing the nice crochet jumper in Topsland, she does all of our yarn formulas. So we sort of said, well, we want about this much of this, this, and this. And then she actually works out what is the best formula to make it run through the machine, and came back and went, this is your percentage, which is why you've got a 17 and an 8, because that's just what worked out best, sort of around the, those marks.
And the other consideration is the Romney and the grey. We know we only have both of those in undyed. So if I pick up like this, for instance, because it's the darkest colour, in there you can really see all the undyed fibre. So we knew that we didn't want to put too much undyed in, or all of the colours would end up quite heathered and quite pale.
Quite pastel.
So we knew that we needed quite a high Corriedale percentage, or we'd just have a load of pastels. And everyone needs you need a bit of darks and lights if you're going to be crafting with it. So.
But also when we asked about the colour palette overall, like what did you want? Did you want saturated, darks or brights or lights? Pastels was the bottom.
Yeah, poor little pastels. No one wanted pastels.
So everybody wanted dark, saturated or bright things, which I think is coming up in a minute.
Yeah, so that was the next bit, was what colour palette. And that was another fun exercise, because then it's like, because actually what was interesting about the survey is like, well, how do we like communicate these ideas in such a way that, you know, you'll be able to pick and then we'll understand. So we were all kind of talking the same language. So yeah, it was that breaking the kinds of shades down into like bright and saturated or really dark kind of moody ones, wearable neutrals, and yeah, poor little delicate pastels, nobody. It was January as well, though, to be fair. So I think if we did that again in the summer, probably the pastels would come higher up.
Pastels and brights and none of the dark colours.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Because we're all wearing quite like pale colours today, but I think it was like first week of January, so everyone was obviously feeling the like need for something bright.
Rich.
Exactly. And then the other things were like, what is important to you when you've got a colour palette? So do you want high contrast? Do you like doing colour work? Or do you want to be able to do like a kind of gradient? So have like a similar shade in a pale, medium and a dark? Or do you want really flecked colours? So those were the things we asked. This is what you said. So no surprise, being as you like our yarn. Heathered shades was quite high up. I think we always like to think that's our favourite thing about our yarn.
If it hadn't been high up, I think we'd have to rethink all the other yarn ranges. So
yeah, it would have been like, oh, why
we'll
do
just
we
go
make
back to
so
knit by
many of
numbers
those
then.
heathered colours? What's wrong with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also, I was quite surprised that the colour work was as low as it was, and that actually it seemed like what people were more interested in was having like a pale, a medium and a dark of like a similar colour for like something more like a fade rather than like really high contrast for colour work. Because with colour work you want pales and darks, but you want them to be opposite so they really stand out. And then, yeah, it was the dark and moody and the bright and saturated. And then we also asked people what their favourite colour is, which is just really interesting, I think, seeing what people say.
Solved very little.
Yeah.
It was like, you don't really want... Oh, it says that nobody wanted orange, but then confusingly, in the comments, almost every comment was a shade of orange.
Yeah.
So we're like, but they do want orange, but they don't want to call it orange.
Like terracotta and rust. Yeah.
And, yeah, just lots and lots of things.
It was peach, terracotta and rust were like all the things in the comments. But I get that because some orange is really scary, whereas some orange is amazing. So that's just people being precise.
Yeah, there were a couple that, and like yellow. Nobody wanted yellow, so we tried to avoid yellow.
Yeah, we didn't do many yellow options at all. And then grey as well. The other thing that is quite interesting is the grey. And so maybe like 6, 7 years ago, like mustard and grey were like so popular. And that's what we were all buying was like tealy blues and then mustard and grey, that whole like grello thing. And this just shows that like, we don't want that now. I'm sure give us another 6 years and we'll want it again, but at the moment, it's definitely... And then purple is really rising as well.
Yeah, there was a point, again, like 3 or 4 years ago where we could not shift purple.
No.
However hard we tried, but now it's very popular again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I always think that like kind of the like fashions within colour are so interesting, aren't they? And it's funny how like you can fill your stash and your wardrobe with a colour And then just at the moment where you've like saturated it, you're suddenly like, okay, I'm done with that now. Like, what's the next color? So we kind of took all of that information, and here's our base materials. So we've got the 2 undyeds and then the Corridel there, and those are all the base colors that fiber comes in. So those colors are what we've used to make this. So the hand carders came out, and we did a talk about how we actually create colors last year. So it's on the YouTube channel if you're interested.
And in the annual.
And in the annual. Oh
Annual
gosh,
4.
it is in the annual. That feels like a long time ago we did that. But yes, it's in the most recent.
It's a whole year
annual.
ago.
But what we do is we weigh out like a very small quantity of fibre.
1 to 2 grams total.
Yeah. And then we'll test lots of different blends. And we had a lovely intern help us, Imogen, didn't she? So she made lots of colours.
She just sat there so 1 day a week just making colours and went, here you go.
Was she down from, was it Plymouth?
She lives Totnes way somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair.
Yes.
Nice. It was lovely having her. And some of then quite a lot of the way we always do it with colour palettes is anyone who works at the mill who's interested, the more colours the better, and everyone makes slightly different colours. So quite a lot of us had a little go at it as well. And then what we did was we went back to these considerations you had. So we knew we wanted to rely on greens, turquoise, teals and blues, bit of purple, dark and moody, etc. And then we created, from all of those colours that we made up, we tried to pull together some harmonious colour palettes that all felt different enough that for this next survey, you'd have enough kind of options to pick from. And something in there that sort of felt like it fitted the brief. So we made sure that every colour palette had at least 1 really dark colour, if not 2.
And a bluey green.
And lots of blues and greens. And then also put in the occasional bright colour pop, because that was another thing you said you were after. So it took a bit of tetrising to try and find 6 different colour palettes that felt different, but that also fulfilled what you said you were after.
Basically, anyone who wanted to play made a little palette of 5 colours, and we took the pictures of all of those and then sort of went, well, which of these, are different enough, or which ones are we going to keep? So yeah, I think Rebecca did one of these that's on the desk, and I think Imogen picked one herself.
Rebecca's one.
The greens, the greeny one was Rebecca's choice.
You made F.
Yeah.
I think Donna made E, actually. I think the winning one might have been. It looks very Donna, the winning one.
Yours is the one with the purples.
Yeah, I made C and no one liked it.
Yes, so different people sort of made different ones, and there were slightly different variations on them, because some of them would have been a bit different, and then we swapped a colour back in. Tried not to duplicate too many times.
And then we also tried, the other thing we try and do every time we make a colour palette at the mill is if everyone at the mill likes it, then that means it's a success, because we've all got quite different tastes. So there's also an element of do we all think that all of these 6 colour palettes are nice?
Is there at least something in here that you like?
Yes. Which one are you making a jumper at? And that's the question that we ask ourselves a lot. And if most of the people at the mill are picking a different one that they'd make a jumper in, that means that, in general, there's enough going on in that colour palette.
Yeah. We have quite a broad range of tastes. So we've also been working on our Seafarer range that you've probably seen. There's a few colours in tops, and there's the naturals in the yarns. That one, it's going to be 25 colours.
We couldn't get rid of.
Because we couldn't get rid of any more. We tried very hard, but every time someone went, but that colour's horrible, someone else picked up and went, don't you dare. So it's quite a nice broad range that covers most people's tastes, but it is just someone will go, I hate those ones, and the other people will go, but those are the only ones I like. So.
Yeah, we had some robust discussions about the colour palette.
There are always somewhere we go, no, nobody wants that, it's gone. But,
Hey, we managed to get rid of 5 of them. So we didn't
Often
do
we're just
too
getting rid
bad.
of ones that are very similar to each other as well.
Yeah.
It's which of the two that are almost identical do you want?
And then everyone, it's always split 50-50.
It's very hard.
So this was what we came up with. And then that was the second survey, was letting you pick one of these. And this is what you picked. So it was actually, that was the other thing, was it was really quite a close run thing. Like if you see, like just over 750 people voted, and
There's 8 in it.
there were 8 in it. So it was like right down to the wire, which was really fun as well. So we were just constantly like, oh, which one's it going to be? But it's lovely, and then the other thing that we asked you, so, oh God, how do I go back?
That one.
That one. So which was the other one that was in contention? It was between E and C. So it was this one or that one.
So it was, they did like yours.
Okay.
You've
Maybe it was
misremembered.
Lauren's one. I think I made D in that case.
Okay.
I just remember it being, I think it was Lauren's one. Anyway, it's no matter. But yeah, those were the 2 that were like right up to the wire. But this one won. And then the other thing that we asked you in that second survey was like suggest a theme broadly. What do you think it would be fun? And again, so many great suggestions. So lots of nature and landscape and wildflowers and gardens. But then it was also like seasons, the fantasy and folklore. Some of those were like wonderful. But it was just really nice seeing what folks came up with as well. There were absolutely tons of them. It took a bit of a job sorting through them all.
The other thing is obviously several of these types of themes we've just used in a different project. So like the gardens and things was just the annual we've just done.
Yeah.
And the seaside one is the annual we're currently doing.
Yeah,
So some of them were like, well, we
exactly.
can't do that because we're already doing that. And you'll just
Yeah.
get really bored of us showing you another picture of a beach.
Yeah, so you were also trying to like not step on toes of other things that are happening.
Yeah.
So that was the second one. And then the third survey, so the first one was the most overarching, and then they kind of start all narrowing down, and then it started really turning into what the yarn and tops have become by the time the third survey was out. So with the third survey, we let you pick one more colour, because now that everyone's seen that colour palette, it's then quite good to be like, okay, well, what should we add to this colour palette? Now this is the winning
Did you
one.
have a favourite that didn't make it through?
Exactly. And then also picking the theme. So these were the shades that we were offering up to add one to. So there's that terracotta that everyone in terracotta camp felt very personally attached to. And then there was a nice kind of peachy pink.
And that forest green got in because it wasn't one.
Yeah. And then navy, which everyone always loves a navy. So we did 2 blues actually. So there's a navy and then more of like a purpley blue next to the navy.
And also a purple.
And then an actual purple, because purple was quite high up when people were saying what colour they liked. So again, we were trying to revisit that to like give people a colour that would work with the chosen palettes. So if we click onto the next one, this is what all those additional colours looked like in with what we're already working with. So we were kind of trying to find things that would work with the ones already chosen.
So you've got the pink for a nice bright pop to like add to the colour palette, or the lavender underneath, which is sort of mutes it a little bit, but like does make it all quite harmonious. The terracotta kind of split it into the blue greens versus the sort of browny orange. The forest green, just sort of fitted in nicely with the browny colour, but also added an actual green because the other one is obviously teal. And the periwinkle blue is another sort of, you've got a bluey purple option that fits nicely on the end. Or the navy, which is what everybody chose, because everyone loves the navy.
Love the navy?
Yes, but it does fit in beautifully too.
Yeah, it really does. And that, again, was like a really close-run thing. So there was a lot of contention. It really could have gone like either way at many stages what we came up with. But that was quite good fun because it also meant that like actually everyone's vote really matters, you know? Like we did all have the ability to really shape what happened at the end of the day with the yarn.
Persistence pays off. If there's something, you know, in any of our surveys you really want a colour, just vote like 10 times. Probably make all the difference.
But it was really close. I do think if we'd only had one blue, the blue probably would have won by a country mile, but it's because we split the blue vote, so.
It still won, so.
Yeah, it did still win. So there it is with the navy on the end. And actually, it does work in there perfectly, that navy. It is like, it was a very good shout.
So yeah, you got the split of the 2 blues, the 2 greeny colours, and then again the 2 sort of browny colours.
The other thing that's really nice about that navy is it also then, one of the things that folks said they wanted was that like gradient in the colour palette, and adding the navy then means that the navy through to the green, all 4 of those, like flow into each other really beautifully, don't they now? So then the other thing was, what would you like the theme to be? So we gave you some options, and folks picked, and I feel like that was quite a decisive win.
Yes, 19%. The next closest is 15.
Yeah,
so,
which would have been the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. I mean, that could have been very fun as well.
I don't know where we'd have gone for a photo shoot for that.
Iceland.
I was going to say, there are no volcanoes in Devon.
Maybe one day. I mean, it would be great to go to Iceland again, but probably not on the work budget. So once we had geology and minerals was the chosen theme, then it was time for us to spin it. So that's the most exciting bit. So what I will do now is we'll pass some more samples around. Let me gather up the tops as well. So what we'll do is we will pass them around, so you get a little twiddle and then also a top. So you can kind of see. And these little twiddles, what they are is, they are the singles. So every time we make a yarn, we have to test that the yarn is the right thickness. And we do that by, how many meters is in one of those little twiddles, Hells? Do you know?
I think it's like 80 yards or something.
It's 80 yards, of course.
It's in yards because it's the olden machine, and we then have to change it to metric for our own system. So there's a little formula written on a scrap of paper in the mill that sort of says, weigh it and then do these things to it and you'll get the number you need.
Yeah. So then the reason that we make those twiddles and weigh them.
Yeah.
The reason we make those twiddles and weigh them is then we know, if we know how much 80 yards weighs, then we can figure out exactly how thick it is. So if we're aiming to make a 4-ply, then we know that needs to be a certain weight. So then we'll adjust the machines. So that's where all the twiddles come from.
To what do you need a certain weight?
So to get the yarn is, this particular yarn is a 2/8 in the new metric system, which means it's 2 plies of what we call a single 8, which is 1 kilo will be 8,000 meters. So in order to make sure you're getting 8,000 meters and not your 7,500 meters or 10,000 meters, you weigh your little tiny bit and make sure that is the correct bit. So that is enough to check that the thickness that it's spinning to is correct.
Yeah.
So it's about 5 to 10 minutes worth of spinning on the machine is enough to get that little bit. So they just they do the original settings, run it, take that bit off, weigh it, check it, and if they need to, they can adjust the gears just a little bit to tweak it to be correct, because it's not always correct first time.
No, that's why we check, because it does make a difference.
So do you run sample spins on the big machines, or do you have a little sample?
No, on the big machine, because you want to make sure that the settings that is actually on at that time is the correct one. So yeah, just when you're setting the machine up, you just run it for a few minutes and then test it before you then fill the machine up with anything else. Because sometimes it's easier to tweak the setting on the previous machine than it is to tweak the one on the spinner. So you just put a little bit through and then wait and then adjust settings on one or the other to make sure it'll be correct.
Yeah, and that's because the gill boxes can run, so the gill boxes are the things that align all the fibre in the same direction and blend the different colours, and they can run at slightly different speeds. And if it's running a bit faster, then the tops that comes out will be a bit thinner, and if it's running a bit slower, the tops that comes out will be a bit thicker. And then that will affect how thick the finished yarn is. So it means, do you need to turn the gill box up or slow it down?
Yeah, and then depending on how much you need to tweak it, changing it on a gill box will do it by X amount, changing it on the spinner will do it by a different amount. So yeah, you might go, oh, I need to tweak it a bit, I'll only change this bit, or I need to change it a lot, I'll change a different bit. But yeah. It varies depending on which way it is. So it's one of the things you have to know if you work in the mill is what's the best adjustment to make here that will get me what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to find our gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same concept, but you've got more than one set of needles to work with.
Yeah. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's like, just check that you've got the right gauge before you start knitting, or in our case, spinning the entire batch's worth, you know. Which there are some things in the sales section which then are like, oh, we didn't check. We're all human, and from time to time.
It's very easy for things like, say, knit by numbers, where we only run small amounts of each colour because we're trying to make 100 colours. You only run about 3 kilos off at a time. And if you're trying to do multiple things at the same time, you might be like, oh yeah, that one was that one was that one was that, and then just forget to tweak something or tweak it the wrong way. Because that's the other thing, is you might put the gear up one instead of down one, because yeah, you're trying to do 6 of them at the same time and you just got it the wrong way round, or you mixed up the 2. So yeah, every so often there'll be one where it didn't come out quite right, but these things happen.
Yeah, definitely. So then with the 4th survey, what we did then was everyone suggested names once we had a theme. And then with the 4th survey, we let people pick which name we thought worked. So Zoe suggested moss agate. I did crop this slightly because we had a time budget, but basically there were like 4 different potential word names. So moss agate was the winner, but you know, all of you helped suggest some names, and then we gave you again, I think it was 4 or 5 different options to pick from, and you all decided that this colour should be called moss agate. And I think you were right, because it looks like moss. Yep. So we'll just go through them. But again, here you can see with the tops and the yarn next to each other, you can really see, like looking at the tops gives you that variation. And with this one in particular, you can see all that undyed fibre in there. So Malachite Magic, Azurite Adventure, Blue Slate, which was our late addition, the navy. I think I need a jumper in that. It's really nice. Bog Oak, Carnelian, and then Alabaster. And that, another reason why we picked the blend we did is we love all of those like really silvery pale greys. They're just super.
You guys
you're
do
wearing
as well.
one.
This one is Ordinary Joe. But yes, like they are some of the most popular ones that we have. So the Reggie, which is in the Devon Naturals, is very, very popular colour. And Mizzle is by far our most best-selling colourway in any of our yarn ranges.
Yeah. We sell more Mizzle than we do anything else.
It's a great colour, but yeah. So we often know that, yeah, like a little bit of colour in it, but we're finding that as well, like when we're designing yarns for commission, quite a lot of people are looking for that, particularly for dyeing over, because it just gives it that little bit more interest to it, to have something that's not just bright white. It's,
Yeah.
you don't have to mess around quite as much with your colours for dyeing if you've already got something in the underlying thing that's just giving it a little bit of colour.
Yeah, for sure. So then the only thing left to do was take some silly pictures. So again, we were trying with the samples to really channel that theme that you gave us of geology and minerals. These photos were all taken at Haytor on Dartmoor, and all of the tours on Dartmoor, they're all like ancient volcanoes. So all the granite formed like however long ago. Laura would know how long ago. Laura used to be a geologist.
Yes.
I don't. Some amount of time ago. But then what has happened is, I know about wool. I don't know about, the
Rocks.
eras. Rocks is too much. But basically what has happened with all the tours on Dartmoor is they were all ancient volcanoes, and then over time, all the soil has kind of eroded around them, I think particularly in the Ice Age, and then left these like huge structures. And Haytor, has anyone been to Haytor? Couple of you. It's amazing. I mean, it's a rock. It's like a huge, just granite rock that's maybe like, I don't know, 10 times the size of this room we're in. It's like really very big and very long. So it's the most impressive of
It has
the
a car
tours
park
on
right
Dartmoor.
by it, so it's nice and easy to get to if you
Also
did want to go.
handy. Yes. Yeah, you can just like, it's very beautiful and spectacular, but it's also a
Very
5-minute
accessible.
walk from the car park, which is very useful if you're trying to do a photo shoot.
Yeah. Or just if you want to visit.
Or if you want to
Some of the
visit.
tours are very much like, this looks like someone's like field. Should I walk through here? Or,
Yeah. Or like
And
you have to walk for 3 hours to get
or
to
3
it.
hours, yeah. Across all of Dartmoor in the pouring rain, through a bog.
Well, definitely this weekend. And then again with the samples as well, we wanted to pick things that had like a kind of geology or mineral connection to them.
We did a lot of, sort of word searching through Ravelry of
Yeah.
the like, what else is geology?
Yeah.
Rocks?
Yeah.
Like things like that. So
Yeah.
we ended up with a few different ones. But yeah, we've got
so we'll
pictures of
show them to
Yeah.
you. And it was a really fun day. It was like it was really lovely weather, and we just got up on the moors and were a bit silly. So we've got the geo top, fits the theme perfectly. Donna knitted this in 2.5 weeks.
To a deadline, so yeah.
Well done, Donna. It is
Yes.
beautiful as well. She looks fab in it. So she's wearing that today. But that's a lovely one because you can really pick, it's quite customizable. You can pick the length of the body and then also the length of the sleeves. So you could have it even more cropped.
I think
Or
it's got
the
a bit of
t-shirt.
shaping and stuff as well. But
Yeah.
it's just got a nice bit of texture on the yoke, which you can see a little bit there, but yeah, it's just
Go
really,
and-
it's
go
quite
and
simple,
inspect
but it looks
Donna
really nice.
later.
Yeah, go stare at Donna. But yeah, it's a really nice, just simple tee, but an interesting one.
By Suyan Nam. And then we've got the Poor Clear Sweater by Midori Heroes, which admittedly does not fit the theme, but I think we've just been wanting to.
It's a good
have
one for showing off all of the colours, but also it's like the style of the yoke where it's all the little blocks. It's like, it's a little bit like, you've got a lot of rocks and
Yeah.
or bricks, I guess.
The
but yeah.
name of it doesn't, but it does look like a sort of close-up crystal, doesn't it?
Yeah,
For
that one is
sure.
really fun, being modelled by Martha, who is one of our mill folk.
She works upstairs, so she will be the person who skeins and cones all of your yarn. That's what Martha does. Operating Gillian. What have we got next? Then we've got the Montana Mountain Cowl by Andrea Murray.
It's a mountain.
It is a mountain.
We got very loose with the geology theme at the end.
Well, we did our best.
But
with
we
the
also know we
geology
like
theme.
this pattern because Bex, who is filming this,
Hi,
back of the
Bex.
room, made this in the down the allotment colours. So
Yeah.
we get to see that one regularly when she pops up at the mill. So we were like,
Exactly.
oh, that's a nice pattern. But
Yeah.
So Sam made this sample.
Yeah.
It's out in tops at the moment. But
Yeah, and she said she enjoyed making. I think she's talking about making one for herself, actually.
But yeah, so it's quite a quick one because it's just in the round, isn't it? So
And
it's a very repetitive little.
Is it slip stitches rather than colour work as well? So if if colour work's a bit much for you, that's a good one to try. And then we also made the strata sweater. This is another one that's bang on the theme.
Yeah. It's a really nice jumper. I was wearing that one yesterday. It's nice. It sort of tapers. It's sort of got good, like nice wideish shoulders, but then sort of can taper to the waist and taper down the sleeves. But obviously, as much as you want. But it only uses 3 skeins for the smaller, like the bottom half of the sizes. You just need 1 of each colour, so it's quite good for using up all of what you've got. But yeah, it's just a good one. Nice stripes to show off as many colours as possible.
And that was made by Denise, who's here. It was very exciting.
And modelled by Sophie, who is running the cafe.
Yeah, and Sophie, Sophie works upstairs and downstairs in the mill. She's our only person who does both, but at the moment she's in the cafe because she used to work in hospitality, and it's very hard working in the cafe. So you need someone who knows what they're doing. Arguably harder than making yarn working in the cafe. Yeah.
Donna also made this. So between Wonderwool and the photo shoot, or was
Donna
she started one of them before Wonderwool, but like there was only like 2 weeks or something between Wonderwool and the photo shoot, and she finished one and made the other of the 2 samples that she did.
You don't mess with Donna.
She's dedicated. But this one uses a single skein, so it was reasonably quick for a little shawl.
It's beautiful though. And again, it's got all of those different textures. If you go and look at the sample, it's like a little sampler, like every couple of rows, you've got a new texture going on.
And again, geology shawl, so we didn't have to look too far for that one.
Yeah. And then I made this one, that's the salting sweater.
Which was from a pom-pom issue that was all about, again, like geology kind of theme stuff. It was all full of like the textural things that were
for
like
sure.
that. So.
I think we wanted something to show off that it cables really nicely as well. So that was the other thing we were trying to do with the samples, is like some of it's colour work, some of it's cables, some of it's lace. You want to kind of show what the yarn will look like in all those different kind of versions.
Is that in the darker brown?
It's in the paler brown.
It's in the
carnelian.
You've got it right there. Look.
So, this is the one that's most different from like thing to tops. I think.
Yeah.
Like the tops.
Yeah. So it's
you
sort
wouldn't
of
necessarily think it would be that colour.
You've got some ends you haven't done in here.
I know.
Like
well,
that.
it's because there was a photo shoot, Helena.
Yeah.
And then I haven't seen it since the photo shoot.
But yeah, so it's sort of it's a sort of neutral kind of pinky rust colour, but with greens in it. So you can pass that one around as well and have a close-up look at how it knits up.
Don't look at the end. I really haven't
Don't look on
woven
the
in
inside.
I've woven most of the ends, and then it was supposed to be a turtleneck, and it was like the day before the photo shoot, and it was 11 o'clock, and I was like, I just need to go to sleep. Yeah. So there's a lot of ends to be woven in around the neck. Other than that, it's finished. And so is the talk. So thanks for coming.
Does anybody have any questions for us on any of those things or suggestions for next year?
Yeah, let us know. What special should we make next year? Folklore. Yeah.
Some pastels.
Pastels, yeah. If you buy them, Inca.
I was going to say, Lauren, who's out on the info desk, always skews towards the pastel colours. So you can tell when she's been designing things. So she's designed some of the squish ones that we've done. So that's why we've always had a nice like pastel-y kind of colour. And you can tell which of the, she also orders the hand-dyed that we've got on the stand. So you can see which ones in particular where she just went, well, I want to buy these. But lots of different ones.
Sure. Yeah, we do have, so we've got a yarn launching in September, which is called Seafarer, and it's got some silk in it. And that is all folklore themed. It's sea monsters. Sea
monsters and gods and other strange things that you find if you go out into the wilds of the ocean.
It's going to be great. We've got a kraken and a leviathan, Poseidon.
Yes. So is it 8 of the colours that you can see in tops form at the moment so far? And then there'll be a few more coming out, I think,
Couple of weeks.
Later this month there should be a few more colours, and then there'll be a few more, and then in September the whole lot.
Yeah.
And then it will all be available as yarn as well.
Yeah, and it will eventually be available as lace weight as well.
So it's to replace the Alpaca Supreme range that we're no longer making because we just can't get such good supply of alpaca, and both alpaca and silk have become astronomically expensive.
Well, and why would we work with alpaca from halfway around the world when we could work with gorgeous sheep on our doorstep?
Yeah.
So
part of the reason that we're making less of Alpaca Supreme over the years was when John originally launched it, he had a good supply of UK alpaca and in a variety of natural colours. So the original palette had a sort of a black gradient, a brown gradient and a fawn gradient, but it soon became a lot harder to get good quality and all the different colours. So that was why we then switched to a dyed palette because we couldn't get the natural ones. And then just being able to get reliable supply of British alpaca became a bit too hard. And again, alpaca became very popular for a while and very hard to get because it got more expensive. So that was why we sort of went, well, actually, we've got all this lovely wool and we quite like a wool silk blend. So we thought, well, what if we just, don't need to do that one.
Definitely.
Is there a reason why it started getting in the UK? Because there's so many out there.
I think it's that people will so we ourselves don't specialize in alpaca, but there are a lot of like amazing yarn companies that do specialize in alpaca. So I think then they buy the alpaca.
Nobody has 1,000 alpaca in their farm, whereas there are a lot of people who have 1,000 sheep.
Yeah.
So alpacas tend to come in very small collections and they're not even all the same colour. They'll have like a brown one, a black one and 2 white ones on their farm.
Yeah.
And then they've got to try and lump together with some other people who have got similar quality and colours in order to get a big enough lot. Because obviously we need it in the hundreds of kilos kind of range in order to make a yarn range from it, rather than the 4 alpaca range.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, they also don't have, like with the wool board, there is a place for farmers to go. However many sheep they have, even if they've got one, they can sell it to the wool board and it will go through a system and it will get put into a bigger lump so we can then buy several tons of it. But the alpaca group hasn't got that same reach. There is like a breed society, but they don't have the same organisation level that the wool one does. So it's a bit more of a logistical nightmare to go, well, we need 500 kilos of good quality white British alpaca. That's just that much harder to do than just going down the road and going, can I have 5 tons of white wool, please? And they go, which one do you want?
Yeah, exactly. So some of it is that infrastructure. And then because of that, a lot of the like higher quality alpaca will either get spun up in like very small batches, or it will kind of be bought by people who have those relationships with the farmers and
are trying to put together a lot.
Are trying to put together a bigger lot. But also I think that part of the other reason we did it is because actually there's a lot of alpaca merino silk out in the world, and we were just thinking there isn't much like slightly more rustic British wool with silk in the world. I don't really know anyone else who does that. We thought we'd do it.
Really nice yarn. We have been knitting and working with it, and Kayla has also made a sample for us in it, so you can say it's nice. It's really nice to work with. And we went for a 4-fold, so it's quite strong and it's sort of nice and rounded, so it's really good stitch definition. So it's good for.
I think
we think it will. It should be strong enough for non-nylon socks as well.
Definitely.
As long as you're not the sort of person who just wears your socks out instantly. So it should be a pretty good option.
And if people want to have a look at the yarn, it is just we've
by
got
the tilt
grey
point.
And white by the tilt point. So you can go have, and then there's swatch that's in some colours, so you can have a look. But anyway, we've just talked about a different yarn that we weren't supposed to talk about.
It's fine. That's why they come in.
Spoilers for
they
a
want
future
the spoilers. But so that's what's coming in September is that one.
Yeah. But thank you all for coming, and thank you for listening to us.
And then
it's lunch time. Let's go eat some lunch.
Have a look at all of those yarns.
Thank you.